Now, Scott Pruitt is Donald Trump's pick to lead the EPA. Now, it's a little bit of an interesting pick because this is a guy who has sued the EPA on multiple occasions and has called for, of course, the repeals of many of the EPA's regulations. Now, things, of course, like the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, regulations, right? Now, of course, eliminating some of these regulations would help industry by allowing it to pollute and not have to spend money on things like proper waste disposal. Hey, there's a river. Let's dump our toxic waste in it and maybe we can save a couple bucks. Or hey, let's improperly store chemicals. Like, for example, the aptly named, happened a few years ago, Freedom Industries, that leaked chemicals into a nearby river. Or you guys remember the fertilizer plant in Texas that exploded because there were few regulations on how to store this material. But let's get rid of those, says Scott Pruitt, the incoming EPA director. Now, why would you take those positions? I mean, look, there's nothing conservative about allowing companies to pollute everywhere. Republican voters also like clean air and clean water just as much as everybody else. So why would he want to take those positions and be considered a conservative? Well, it turns out Pruitt is just doing the bidding of his corporate paymasters. Now, he's not only a mouthpiece for the fossil fuel industry, but he's literally taking the letters from oil and gas companies and sending them verbatim. This is a guy that takes his opinions from other companies, signs his name onto it and says, that's my opinion. Now, I've got proof of this, and this comes from Bill McKibben. Now, he wrote for the New York Daily News that in 2014, Pruitt sent a letter to the EPA as Attorney General of Oklahoma. Now, the letter argued that the agency was dramatically overstating how much pollution these new gas wells in his state were actually causing. Now, that, again, was verbatim from an energy company. Now, turns out that the energy company was wrong. The EPA had actually dramatically underestimated the pollution from those gas wells, as they later on admitted. Now, the letter here is a bit of a focus, because it kind of shows you who Scott Pruitt actually serves and who he works for. Now, that letter was written word by word for people at Devon Energy, which is a local oil and gas company. Now, he also did the same thing with letters to President Obama and the Secretary of the Interior. And once he had sent the letters to D.C. on a stationery, McKibben explains that his staff wrote to Devon Energy to report back. And according to the New York Times, ended up getting a nice little pat on the head from the company's executive vice president for public affairs. Now, he said apparently, quote, "Excellent. The timing of this letter is great, given our meeting this Friday with both the EPA and the White House." Good boy. Good Scott Pruitt. Here's your bribe. Now, look, what am I talking about? Well, public records, according to OpenSecrets.org, he did get one donation in 2013 from Marathon Oil. They gave a total of $5,000 to Scott Pruitt for his campaign to become Attorney General. $5,000. Our politicians, some of them come real cheap. Now, he's also, of course, a climate change denier. I've talked about that before. And when you think about it, it's kind of crazy. We're going to have a climate denier in charge of the EPA. That's insanity. But look, the truth is, Scott Pruitt's not out there to run the EPA. His job is to dismantle the EPA and to sell it off to the government, to sell off the government to the oil and gas industry. See, the whole point of Trump's cabinet is to not govern. Their job is to take it apart and to loot the place. Our money. And as far as the oil companies go, look, what they're going to do with Scott Pruitt in charge is privatize the gains and socialize the losses. That's what they do. When there's an oil spill, you're going to pay for it. If they poison a river, you're going to pay for it. When you have the effects of climate change, and when they make it more difficult to grow food in certain places, which will inevitably raise prices, this is already happening with some food items, you're going to end up paying for it. They socialize the losses and privatize the gain. Also, oil companies, with their help with their lapdogs like Scott Pruitt, can end up making an extra buck. And for $5,000 in campaign contributions, all that I could find, there might be more. Scott Pruitt is a stenographer for the oil and gas industry. He does whatever they say and gives them and sends out whatever letters that they write. And this guy is going to be in control of the EPA. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.